Hi guys, and welcome back to my channel. Today we're going to be building the Frog race frame from Banggood, from a company called Tech. So I don't know how long these guys have been in the market, but I recently saw these two frames, the light and the race version. I got both of them. The light version I've already built in my previous video. I'll probably leave a link in the description below if you want to see that. But on that build, don't use the same motors I used because they were faulty and I didn't get to fly and they just broke, just putting the propellers on. I have a video about that also. Anyways, let's start with this. Now, this is the race version, and the race version is a bit different than the light since the bottom plate is just one piece. The light version has comes separate, which comes a top bottom plate, the arms are separate, and then a lower bottom plate. So that's the only difference other than the weight also. I haven't weighed this yet. I don't have a scale just yet. The one I had kind of broke. I dropped a monster on it, but yeah. So I ordered one and I'm just waiting for it to come in. And you know, it just takes forever to get here. Anyways, so we're going to be building this today. And for components, what I'm planning on using, or what I am actually going to use, is I'm going to use the EMAX RS2205S 2300 kV version. I love these. They're durable. They never have any problems. I never have to worry about these, and they just perform amazing. So I'm probably almost done trying out new motors because I've had so many bad problems with them. Anyways, so for motors, EMAX. For camera, we're going to be using the Foxeer XAT600M. It's an HS1177 type camera. It's very good, low latency. I love it. For ESCs, I'm going to be using the 35 amp Racerstar MS series BLHES. These are awesome. I love these. They perform. I have had one yet to burn out on me or have any desync issues. I love these and I do recommend these. But you guys just need to note something now. Recently, after, I don't know, I forgot what versions I was running and I did an update, and I've noticed the quads that I did not ground the ESC on, the signal ESC, are not really flying. They don't even fly. Something's wrong. So I ended up grounding one of them and it flew. So yeah, from now on I do recommend you ground your signal wires on these ESCs. I don't know about other ESCs. This is just my personal experience right now with these, but they just still perform amazing. What else? Okay, so for VTX I'm going to be using the Eachine TX526. It's a very good VTX. It's selectable, 25, 200, 600 milliwatts, 40 channels, and it's cheap. It's like $12. If you get a chance, get at least two if you're going to make a build. I mean, if you have the cash, because you're going to end up breaking them anyways. And they're very good. I love them. I have yet to have a problem with one of these. For flight controller, well, it's going to be PDB flight controller and OSD. It's the F3V3 from Banggood. I bought a bunch of these because I trust them, and they're on my most reliable quads now, and I could officially say that they're very good. There's better with the F4 microcontroller, but this is just an F3, and it just flies. I mean, that's all I really want. I'm not looking for that perfect quad. I'm just looking for that quad that flies, and I can just fly my quad and enjoy it without problems. Now, what's awesome with these, since the gyro is not so sensitive, I forgot which gyro it has on it, but you can get away with not soft mounting your flight controller. So that's also good here. I really love this, and it has an OSD and a PDB and a current sensor and all that good stuff. So this is very good, and it has a 12 volt and a 5 volt regulator. So, I mean, I love it, and I'm gonna keep using it as long as I can. So, we talked about motors, VTX, this, that, okay. And what else do we have? That's basically it right now. That's going to be the main components of this build, and I think we should just get started. So let me put the motors in, stick the ESCs on, and put some standoffs to put the F3V3, the PDB, and FC put into place, and then we can take it from there. So yeah, I'll be right back, guys. Alright guys, so I've put in the motors and I've used double-sided tape to hold the ESCs in place, and I've used 6 or 7 millimeter standoffs here. I think this will do us just fine right now. So the next step is wire management. Alright, so I figured out how I'm going to do this, but first let's start with cutting up for each side 2 heat shrink tubes. So you don't want them too small, you don't want them too big, and you don't want them too small, just enough to hold and they're just gonna fly everywhere. Alright, I lost the fourth one, so let's just do another one here. Okay, there we go. About this size is good. I don't know, this is maybe like 5 millimeters. Should be just fine. Alright, so let's put them off to the side before we lose them again. So, alright. Okay. So, what I'm going to do here is I'm going to grab the ground and signal and the power and the ground and power. So, I'm going to first drop in a heat shrink. Okay. Alright, I'm going to do the same thing to this side. I'm going to do two sides here and then skip over the other side, just so we don't use so much time and I don't waste any of you guys' time. So, alright, so we got this side in. Let me just show you this. This is getting very annoying now. Alright, so let me show you what we did here. Alright, so we just put one here and one here. So let's get the hot air and shrink it. Okay. And you want to heat it from all angles, just so you know you got a good grab. Okay, so that one's good. Let's do this one. Right there should be fine. Be careful not to melt wires or touch it. I don't know if you're going to be using a lighter or not. Okay, there we go. So now we got this done here. Okay, it's starting to look good already. What we're going to do now is I'm going to route it through the bottom like this, behind this spacer. So let's do that now. Okay. And here is our first one. Okay. There we go. Now let's get this one. Our ground got stuck into something. There we go. Alright, so now we got all of them in. Okay, so let me just push these out of the way here. Alright, so we have both ESC wires, all of them just coming out through this bottom side here. So what we want to do now is actually separate them. So we get the positive, okay, power, and we kind of try to keep it as clean as possible from below to enable us to put battery straps in, or else we're just gonna have a very bad day in the field if the battery strap rips. So we push this there and we grab the ground here. Okay, so now we're gonna put a heat shrink for the positives right here. So then later on we could just solder them in like this, but they would be nice and clean. They'd be held in together. So let me get that here. Okay. I'm gonna put it right there. Should be perfect. Okay. So we got this done. So what we're going to do now is actually we're going to undo the ground from the signals and make sure you got the correct signals. So we got this one's correct, this one's for this one, and this is motor 3, correct. So 1, 2, 3, 4. All right. So we're going to undo it now. Not all of it, just to the part that we need. Okay. So all right, let's do a little bit more, undo a little bit more of that ground because what we care about now is the ground, because we're going to put them all together with the ESC power ground. So I think around here should be fine. You see, just like right to the bottom here. So we'll move this one out of the way. We got this one, and then we get these here. Let's get another heat shrink now, so it just holds it in place while we work. Make our life easier. Alright, so that's holding these now. Let's just do the same thing for this one. Actually tightening it now. Alright. And you don't want to pull too hard because you might rip something off, and I've done that before, and it's just you're just gonna give yourself more work, and I mean that's the last thing you need. Alright, that should be just fine. I'm gonna run it below the power. Alright, so this one I think I might use 2 heat shrinks, but I'm not sure yet. So we're gonna shrink it here now. Alright, that should be good. Alright, so what we're going to do next, the next step is going to be cutting them to length, figuring out how much we need. And then we cut them to length and we just solder them in here, and we take the ESC signals and just solder them in right there. So that's going to go into more detail in a bit. So first, let me get rid of the other side, same idea, same concept, and I'll be right back, and then we'll just start heating up, putting solder on the pads, and we'll just start soldering in the ESCs. So give me a moment, guys. Alright guys, so I got the other side done, and I've kind of just cut them a little bit just to show you how clean this made it now. So you have your grounds, you have your power, and you just have your signal. So if we take a look at it like this, you could kind of see how it's clean now. So once we just start cutting these a little bit shorter and soldering them in, they're just going to look absolutely beautiful. Well, at least that's what I'm hoping it's going to look like. So, and always just take care of, or watch out when you're cutting your wires or stripping your wires, because you can get little parts in here, and that could cause a lot of problems and could ruin your motor, ESC, and even flight controller. So yeah, just be careful when you're cutting them. Like bring it just so low and then cut it. Or when you're soldering, be careful, because you know sometimes you have little solder just pops off and could jump in the motor. So yeah, note on that. So right now what we're going to do is we're going to put solder. We're going to solder up the pads on here. I'm going to solder all the pads I'm going to need. So for the big pads, I'm going to use a 1.5 millimeter solder. You don't have to, you can just use a small one. And for these small pads, I'm going to use 0.8. Now this is a flux core solder with lead. So this is lead-based solder, 60 something, I don't know. But it's just a normal solder you can get from anywhere, really. It's nothing special. So let's start with the big pads. Let me check this. Okay. Big pads, I like to set the soldering iron for 440, 450 degrees Celsius. So preparing it right now, and it's heating up. It was on 360, so I don't know if it's gonna just start working right away here. So. We melted some of the plastic off of that standoff. But it's alright, we'll just replace it later. There we go. Beautiful, shiny. Alright. So, let me show you guys. And I see it, very beautiful, very shiny, very good. That's going to be a good joint right there. Let's do these two bad boys here now. I'm trying to solder without the fume vacuum sucking thingy. It's going to be very noisy, and I just don't want you guys to have to experience that. Perfect. Alright, now I think we should just drop the temperature to 350. Right. Oh, 355. 350, 355 is good. All it's the same really. Alright, so let's do kind of a close up here. Alright, so we're going to be using the 12 volt VTX. I'm not going to be using RSSI since I fly with Flysky receiver, since the transmitter, since the receivers are very cheap, and for me to switch over to Taranis or FR Sky would be just it'll just cost me a lot more, where I can just buy another quad and build another quad. But I'm planning on buying the Turnigy Evolution controller, but that whole five model limit is a bit kind of scary. So every time before I go fly, I need to rebind 5 of my quads depending on the receivers. So, but right now the Flysky receiver is just working just fine. Transmitter, I mean. But I will be upgrading soon. Anyways, so we're going to be using the 12 volt here, VTX. We're going to be using the signal motor 3. Okay, we might use this 5 volt, I'm not sure yet. Ground, we're going to use ground. We're not going to use this, we're not going to use this, we're not going to use this. Buzzer I'm not going to use. S4, which is motor 4, signal 4, and signal 1, and signal 2, and then 5 volt and cam. Now, if you guys don't know, the VTX would be the yellow line coming from your VTX. It'd be here, and this is the yellow line coming in from your cam. Now what this does is your cam's out feed, your video feed that's coming out of your camera would go here, and it'll just go through the OSD and all that good stuff, and it'll pop out here, and it'll go straight to your VTX, and your VTX will broadcast that to you. I love the fact they put a 12 volt here, and I love the fact that they put a 5 volt here. It's just perfect. It just keeps the quad completely clean. But the only downside to this that I really hate is they should have added more ground pads. You only have one right there, and you have this one and you have that one, but you know, it's really much a pain to. Right now we're gonna have to solder 4 wires into this. That's gonna be a bit a tight squeeze, I can tell you that. And you have to be careful, because if you're going to run PPM, you're going to be running it from this. So if you close this and you're not going to be able to put the connector in there, yeah, you might have to desolder and put a connector in there. So yeah, that could be bad. If you're running PPM or PWM, both will go here. Alright, so let's do the small pads now. So we're going to do the 12 volt and VTX first. Let's clean up the solder tip. Alright, and please, if you ever see flux like this residue, always do your best to clean it, because it can create shorts, and that's the last thing you want. And always make sure you clean the tip very good, because it'll just make for nasty joints, and it'll just go places where you don't want it to go. So and I'm using absolutely the wrong head to do this, wrong soldering head tip to use this, but I'm just too lazy to change it, and I can get the job done with it like this. Alright, signal 1, okay, 5 volt and cam. We didn't do those. So let's take a look at it. So everything seems Nice. You got your signal 1 right here for motor 1, signal 2 for motor 2, signal 3 for motor 3, signal 4, and you got 5 volt. I don't think we're going to use the 5 volt for anything. And ground, and then we have the 5 volt in the cam right here, and we have the 12 volt in the VTX right here. And we're going to ground these from here and here, possibly, depending. I don't know how much of a pain it's going to be to put this with the ground. Or maybe we should start soldering them in from right now together. I think that would be the best way to start it. Actually, I think that's what I'm going to do. So I might get the camera wires ground and put them in here. Or you know what, we're just going to leave it. We're going to leave it. We're just going to go along with this right now. So let's start with the signal wires. We're going to start soldering in the signal wires right now. And then from there we'll just move on to the power and the ground. So alright, let's get this started with now. So let me just fix up the camera angle here. Try to get it as good as possible for you guys. Alrighty. So this, let's just double check if this is to that one. Yeah, okay, good. So this is motor 1, and we're gonna have to see now if we solder this in like this, then when we solder this, I'm sure we'll probably end up melting the signal wire, and that'll just be a very big bad headache. So what I'm going to do actually is just bring the wire in this way, that way, right there, like this, sideways. This way it'll give us a lot of space here to solder without melting the wire. So right there was about perfect. Okay, strip the wire. I think that's good enough. So I'm going to turn it like this because I'm right-handed. I should go in like this. Just double check this because I don't want it to run anywhere and touch anything. And there we go. We got our first signal wire in. Same process for the others. Let's do this guy and check what's a good. Oh, about here is perfect. It's a little bit too much. I mean, too little. Alright. So we're going to do the same thing here. We're going to do it from here to the side on it like this. And we should try to spin these wires in together, or twist them as best as possible. Actually, this is going to need a little bit more solder here. Alright. It's freaking hot. Okay. The one on the left isn't that clean, but we can go back and fix it later. But it's holding out just fine. So we got these two, and now we're gonna do these two. And over here is fine. guy right here. Trying to get a good grip. Last but not least is this guy, signal 2, which is this one right there. Put it here, should be fine. Too little again. Perfect. And let me just show you guys how much I'm cutting off. About that much, which is maybe, I don't know, about 3 to 4 millimeters. But you should go for 3. If you could go for 3, go for 3 millimeters. That should be just fine. We didn't have much right. So we got the signals in place now. Oh, that scared me. I was like, where's this coming from? But it turns out it's just a little guy right there. All right. So the signals are in. Now let's do the power, and we're gonna leave these for last because these are going to be a pain. I hope I'm wrong. I hope it's not going to be that bad of a solder this, but you never know. Plus we also have to keep room for the low ESR capacitor. I just remember that right now. Alright, so let's see a good amount. So this is going to be the front. Okay, this is the front here. So we have the camera and we have the standoff here. It's a complete closure, I believe. Yeah, it closes completely, kind of. So, I think like right here, like this, like that. It's gonna be good. Maybe I can show you better. See. So yeah. Here it is from this side, and it's not going to pass this right here. It's going to hold just fine, I think. Yeah, that's what we're going to do. So we're going to cut the wire around here. All right. We need a bit more. Perfect. That's good. So this is how they're going to be. So we're going to put solder on these right here, and we're going to start soldering them in. And then I'll solder the ground here, and then I'll skip over the other side because we basically figured out how to do this really. Alright, so let's get the solder here, and let's start doing this here. And be careful not to hit anything else because that could cause a lot of problems. Alright, so we put solder on these guys right there. Oh my god, they're freaking hot. Alright. So, without these, it'll be practically, no, I wouldn't say impossible, but it would be very difficult to set this up. So we just want them to be as much together as possible. And then grab a good hold. So now we got a good hold. Now I don't have to hold this since it clipped. So all I have to do is basically just guide it through and apply pressure. Just put the soldering iron on top of it and it'll just sink right in. And you hear this beautiful crunching sound telling you I'm in. So right there is good. But we have to increase the solder station to around 450 degrees so it can actually transfer the heat very good, because there's a lot of components and there's a lot of places that you need to transfer the heat to for it to have a good joint. So this can be a bit tricky. So, and sometimes what I like to do usually is I would heat the pad up first and then I would then go on top with this. So let me bring it in as close as possible. Alright, now I can't see like this. So alright, it's on. Okay, we're good. We're on 460 now. So we're gonna start melting this right here. And then we just transfer that heat. And we have a beautiful joint, I think. Yep, looks good to me. So, yeah, it's very good. This plays here. Something just cracked. So, that's a good one. Let's do these bad boys now. Alright. So, this one's going to be a bit tricky. I'm going to cut about this much off right here. Okay. Now we got to start stripping them. I'm thinking of stripping the thinner ones a little bit longer so they have more to grip to, so that we don't have them just running away from us while we're setting this up. Okay. Now these two bad boys. Perfect. Perfect. Always try to twist your wires and put solder on them. So I dropped back the solder station down to 350 just to put solder on the wires. And I just increased it back up to 460 degrees Celsius. So, yeah. Okay. Let's double check everything. Everything seems good. And now we're going to have to somehow line them up nicely. So I think this is the best I can get it. So I need to pull a little bit more. This one a little bit less. It's gonna be very difficult because, yeah, I just remembered. I hope I got him good. I mean, I think that's the best I'm gonna be able to grab him with this. And we just have to do our best now. I'm gonna twist it since I have to grab it with left. Right. So this one might need a little trimming right there. Okay. Alright, so I'm gonna apply pressure. Just make sure all of them, yeah, all 4 of them are there. So let's just melt this here. Okay. Then we hope we get a nice clean joint somehow. I think we did. Let's take a look at it. Focus, buddy. I want to focus. There we go. So I see it's very good joint. It's a very good joint. All of them are in. Nothing is sticking out that where it's not supposed to. It seems totally perfect. Actually, I'm very happy with it. So that's very good. All right. So, well, this side's done now. So I'm gonna skip over this side because it's very difficult to do this on camera. I'm basically have my face next to it, like right here, just looking, so you guys can get the best kind of view to see what I'm doing here. So now I'm going to do this side, and then I'm going to also put in the battery probably now, or just leave it for later. I don't know yet. I'll figure it out. So let me do that. I'm going to put these ESCs in here, and I think we will do the motors, or I might just skip over the motors since they're pretty obvious. Or we can do 2 motors. Alright guys, so I got the other side finished also, and I've also soldered in the ESCs, the motors to the ESCs. Now, as I always say, motors 2 and 3 are reversed, which means the first wire and the last wire are split. So here would be this wire here, it goes there, and then that wire from that end goes here, and the middle one just goes straight in the middle. So this is motors 2 and 3, 2 and 3. And 1 and 4 are just straight connections into the ESC. So I skipped over that right now. Right now we're gonna solder in the camera, and this is the VTX line. No, this is the camera line. This is the camera, and where's the VTX? And the VTX is right here. All right. So I've cut audio and then the other ground from this VTX, so we're left with power, ground, and video in. Okay. So let's start with the camera since it's a little bit easier to strip. So I'm going to take the ground. Okay. All right. So we strip this one. All right. And so this is the back here. Oh yeah, I've also soldered in the XT60 connector here. So we need the front right here, which is, this will be the cam. Let it focus. There we go. See, cam, 5 volt, and we're gonna ground it from here. It's gonna be a pain to ground it from here, but we're gonna probably use one of those. I call them Joshua Broadwell's technique, is where you just put it on top and you just kind of a little bit solder and then just add a little solder on top of it. It's not a good joint, but I would rather do that than risk redoing this again, because this is unbelievable. All right, so let's add solder on these little guys right here, and then we're gonna trim them down. All right, there we go. So, okay. All right, so I've set up the fume fan here, so it just sucks in all the fumes, because it was just getting a bit too the smell was just getting very bad now. So I had to do that. Okay. camera. So let's turn autofocus back on. Okay, turn this off because we don't need it. So let's bring it in. So camera's here. See, cam 5 volt. Cam 5 volt. All right, we're gonna have to cut these a little bit shorter. So let's do that now. Try not to cut on top of your motors. Okay. Yeah, we should have left the ground a little bit longer, but it's all right. So let's bring this in here. All right, so we're gonna start with 5 volt. We're gonna start with 5 volt. Camera angle is just killing me here. Okay, it's 5 volt. Now we do the cam. Okay, now we do the ground. I'm gonna try just to put a little pressure here on it since I don't have it on 400. Oh shit! Shit! You guys didn't see anything. Sorry. There we go. That's good enough. So yeah, I should have thought about the angle before anyways. Oh God. So we got 5 volt and we got cam and we have the ground here running right there. So that's done. All right. Now let's go to the VTX. So the VTX is right there. VTX, 12 volt and ground. Maybe I'll put ground here, or maybe I'll ground it right there. I don't know yet. We'll figure it out right now. But I'll probably end up grounding it here, so we don't risk messing up the wires. All right. So here's the wire. So we're gonna have to. I don't know if I should keep it this long or not. I think to right here is going to be fine. Yeah, that's going to be good. Maybe we should use a little. Yeah, let me get some heat shrink so keep it nice and tidy because we're going to have to split these wires up. So give me a moment. All right, so I just cut 2 little pieces. I'll heat shrink them later. Right now, let's just strip these wires and put some solder on them. So what we're going to need now is actually a lighter because these are very bad wires. So all right. There we go, and that's how you strip these wires. All right, let me prepare them to be soldered. All right, put some solder on them, and then we're gonna trim them to length. Alright guys, now we're ready to solder them in place. Now remember, yellow is VTX, which is the line in, Black is ground, obviously, and red is power, which is, we can feed it 12 volts. So that is just perfect. So we're going to start with VTX since it's the top one. Now we're going to go to 12 volt power. Maybe we should trim that down a little bit. Okay, that's in. And ground, I think we're just going to ground it here. So, same thing we did with the other one. It's because I cut it too short. This is a terrible job, but it's gonna do just fine. Alright, so let's take a look at it now. Turn this off. So we have 12 volt grounded. We have 12 volt for the VTX, we have the VTX, and we have the ground for the VTX. And here we have 5 volt for cam, and we grounded the camera. And I don't know if you guys noticed, I put this in right now before I continued on soldering that side for ppm, just so I don't have to put up with a headache later on to remove this just to put this back in. So I just put that in now. That's why it's hanging out here. Okay, so we finished this, we finished that, and what else is left now? I think now is just the receiver. I don't know which receiver I'm going to use. Probably one of those little Eachine ones, or the FS6XB or something. I don't remember. Let me see which one I'm going to use real quick, and I will be right back. Alright guys, so we got everything in. I plugged in the camera, plugged in the VTX, plugged in the receiver. I decided to use this one. It's the FS-A8S receiver. It's going to give us a lot of room inside. So basically this is our stack. And what I'm going to do this time, I'm going to do something different. I'm not going to put the low ESR capacitor. I'm going to see how it flies. If I do get any brownouts or VTX blackouts or any flickers, then we'll come back in and then we'll just put a low ESR capacitor. But I think for now this is going to be good. So now we just have to figure out where we're going to mount everything. So I think I'm going to get double-sided tape and just put this here, right there. I think it'll be fine here. Easy access also to it. So that should be good right there. Or maybe we can mount it on top of this, like inside. But first and most important is always the VTX for me. Let me see where I put my double-sided tape. Alright, so we got it. And what I like to do first is actually set this up on this, like so. And we're going to cut this off. Alright. Now another thing I like to do actually is this right here, because depending on where we're going to lay it, I like to poke these holes through here, because through the heat shrink that's already on it. So if I get a place where I can actually put zip tie through that, that's going to be awesome, because it's just more something to grip to, even better than double-sided tape, because sometimes through temperature change the double-sided tape just decides to give out and die on you. I've tried 3 different kinds already and most of them usually happens. I'm talking about like extreme temperature, like when like negative, I don't know, 5 and 6 sometimes even 12. I didn't go out when it was negative 12 though. Alright, so that's done. What I want to do is I want to actually align the holes, see, to these. That's going to be perfect because we can just run a zip tie through there. Actually, that's what I want to do. So let's remove double side tape now. Opa. Alright. So that seems aligned. Okay. It's perfect. There we go. So we're gonna stick zip ties through here to hold them in place, and maybe one around here also from right there, which is gonna be good. So let's just take a look now at the amount of space we have inside. So the only thing left to put in here is the receiver. Make sure everything is good. Everything seems fine. Everything seems to fit just fine. So we have plenty of room inside. Such a beautiful clean quad this is gonna be. Unless I'm missing something, but I don't think I'm missing anything. So now we also have extra room in here if we needed to add the low ESR capacitor, because those are just monsters. They just take up so much space. So yeah, this will be fine anywhere, really. Let's take a look up top here. See, now this is a little bit tricky because the other day I had to rebind because I forgot where I bind the other one. But anyways, I didn't get to fly it. But I had to remove 6 screws instead of just 4 screws. I could have just removed the bottom screws and I would have reached it here. Oh, I would have reached it also, same thing, so it doesn't really matter. I'm actually going to put this up here now. Maybe. Let me see if it fits without putting any extra pressure on anything. Yeah, it'll be just fine right here. It'll be perfect, actually. So that'll be right there. We're left with a lot of space on the bottom now. So let's just remove the camera wire because there's really no need for it right now. And VTX wire. Well, I could see removing the VTX wire could be a problem if we had that there, actually. I mean, unless we just move it all the way up here, it'll be fine, I think. But then what happens here? We can't go down, but all the way up, that's all that matters, really. So right there seems fine. Yeah, that's perfect. Let's get double side tape and stick it there. And keep the bind button on the bottom part, so if you, once you lift up top, you could always bind it instead of having to remove the double-sided tape, and just it'll just be a big headache for you. So try to think ahead when you build these. Learn from others and learn from your own mistakes as well, but try to learn from others as much as you can. So I'm gonna set this up in here. I think that's too much. I think right about here is gonna be fine. Yeah, okay, just, yeah, that's perfect. Yes, and the bind button's right here. Perfect. Now let's do the test of the VTX wire. I don't know which way it goes, actually. Yeah, and I could put it in. Yeah, it's fine. Yeah, I could do this a lot quicker if I wasn't on camera. Anyways, everything seems fine right here. And we are basically actually done. So I'm gonna just do the little final adjustments here. Just put zip ties, heat shrink these, and we're basically done. And we see when we're gonna take this out for a flight. So I'll be right back, guys, and we'll just take another look over it and then see how everything goes. Alright guys, so I've put it all together now, and it just looks beautiful from every angle, actually. All it's missing is the GoPro lens, and we'll do that in the field. I'll switch that over for a GoPro lens. But other than that, I'm just really loving it. It looks beautiful. It's a very clean build. I hope it performs out in the field. I know these motors never let me down, neither has these ESCs or this flight controller. So this should be an overall very good build, but you never know, you know. So I'm hoping for it. I'm hoping it's going to be my second most reliable quad now, and it just looks beautiful. So I'm gonna leave you guys with the showcasing of the frame, and I really hope you guys like my videos, and they're useful to some people out there. And please don't forget to like and subscribe. And if you guys have any suggestions, just let me know. So take care. Happy flying. See you guys.